Mic on. What about now? Can y'all hear me over there on Instagram? You can hear me on Instagram. Let me know in the comments. Y'all can hear me. Make sure my mic is turned on now. Can you hear me now? The mic is on. Is my mic on? My mic's on. You can hear me on Instagram. Leave a comment. Let me know you can hear me. All right. My mic's on now. All right. Hope everybody's having a great week. Great start to your September. First full week of September. And a great, what's today? Thursday, September the 8th. Hope y'all had goals written down this month. I hope you're not just randomly doing stuff and hoping that it works out. All right, that's not a good plan. But we're gonna get into this topic here today. The topic today, as promised, this is also in my live in my Facebook group called Six Figures and Growing. This is for all you business professionals out there. The topic is how to work on your mental game, and this one is for everybody. Even if you are not, even if you're not an aspiring, business professional, business owner, but everybody's in business in one way or another. So this topic actually can apply to anyone. So before we get into it, let me introduce myself. For those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Dre Baldwin. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete. I'm the author of 33 books, including that one there, the Mental Workbook, that one there, the Overseas Basketball Blueprint, that one there, the Work on Your Game System Manual, that one right there, Work on Your Game. This one right here called the Super You, that yellow one, that red one right there called the Third Day, that black one right there called the Mirror Motivation. And how many did I just mention? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 27 more. I created this whole brand framework in business that is called Work on Your Game. It's all about taking the tools and the attributes and the strategies that I learned as a professional athlete. And what I do now is I apply them strategically and systematically to the business world. Basically, what I did was create a system that translated all the stuff that I used to make it happen in sports, and I translated that into something that works in the business world. So that's what I help people do, most specifically with mindset, accountability, strategy, and execution. That's what I help people with, and I created a whole system that does exactly that. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, you are dealing with the right person, you are in the right place, and you are the right individual yourself. So what we're talking about here today is how to work on your mental game. And I think most of you who are watching this or listening to this, whether you're watching live or on replay, you understand the value of the mental game. You understand the mental game is your mindset, is the way that you think and the way that you see life and the lens through which you deal with and lens through which you engage with everything that you do, everything you see, hear, do, think about, etc., and everything that happens around you. Most people understand the value, not even understand, but appreciate, let's say, the value of the mental game. The challenge for most people, and I know this for a fact because I've been talking about the mental game for over a decade now. The challenge for most people is that you do not understand how to actually apply the mental game, how to make the mental game actually work for you, and how to do it in a strategic, systematic, and consistent way. This is the challenge for damn near everybody that I deal with. They don't know how to do this in a systematic, strategic way. This is why I write books about this stuff. This is why I talk about this stuff all the time. This is why no matter what topic I talk about, I could be talking about something like writing a book. Something about mindset is going to come out in that conversation. I could be doing a topic about selling products and raising your prices. Something about mindset is going to come up. I could talk about working out and getting in shape. Something about mindset is going to come up in that conversation. The mental game, I want everybody to understand this, what I'm about to say to you. The mental game is the most important game you will ever play. It is the most important game you are playing right now, by the way. If you didn't know you were in the mental game, then maybe you're just not playing it very well, because if you're playing the mental game well, you know you're in the mental game. You know how valuable it is and how important it is. Napoleon Bonaparte said, and for some reason my Facebook's saying I'm not getting a strong enough frame rate, but nothing we can do about it anyway. Napoleon Bonaparte said that the mental is to the physical as 3 is to 1. In other words, for whatever you are doing tactically, tangibly, things that you can hold in your hand and count and measure, your mental game is worth 3 times that. So how you're seeing things mentally matters 3 times as much as what you are actually doing physically. So if your mental game is not on point, you're not playing the mental game the right way. If you don't understand that you're in the mental game, or your mental game is just faltering, is not doing what you needed to do, understand you're costing yourself opportunity, you're costing yourself success, and you're going to continue to cost yourself until or unless you address this and fix it. So that's why how to work on your mental game, not just understanding what it is. I'm assuming that all you understand that there's value in it, but now we got to talk about how do you actually work on it so you can get better at it? That's the topic here today. Now, this framework and business that I created called Work on Your Game breaks the mental game down into 4 parts. And I have a daily masterclass, by the way. Some of y'all call these podcasts. It's on all the podcasting apps. It's called Work on Your Game. And Work on Your Game is broken down into 4 pieces: discipline, confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative. My show comes out every day. If y'all haven't tuned into that show, subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, all of that. Right now, Apple has some kind of bug going on to where my new episodes haven't showed up in the last couple of days on the app, but the show is still coming out. So just look it up on Spotify. You can't, if it's not, the new episodes are not there on Apple, just look it up on Spotify. But if you've never heard of the show, we got 2,000 plus episodes already out. So just listen to everything until you catch up. By then, maybe they'll have fixed it on Apple. So today we're going to talk about how to work on that mental game, because I just told you that the mental game is more important than the physical game. It is. If it's not equal, it's actually more important than the physical game. Now you need to know where to begin and what to do about this, and how to actually use this stuff and apply it in your life and in your business, no matter what it is that you're doing, because all of us are in business. By the way, all businesses is anything where there's an exchange happening. Usually one of those exchanges is money, and it costs money to be born. Any of you who has kids, it costs money to have a child. Any of you who has ever participated in the arrangement for a funeral, it costs money to die. And everybody who's alive right now, it costs money to be alive. Food, clothing, shelter costs money. So that means all of us are in business in some way. No matter how you slice it, we're all in business. So everybody here is a business professional. Hopefully you're being a professional in that you're showing up and doing your thing consistently. That's the real definition of professional, not just the exchange of money. So let's get into the topic. I got 1, 2, 3 points I'm going to give you here today, but I always usually throw some extras in there if y'all don't mind. So let's get right into it. Number 1 thing you can do to work on your mental game is that every single day you must be taking time out, making time to clear your mind and focus on how you are showing up, how you are delivering, and how you are being in the day. I talk about this in my book, Work on Your Game, which is this book right here. I talk about this in this book. I talk about it in my book, The Third Day. I talk about it in The Mirror Motivation. Who you are being as a person, meaning the way you are showing up, your energy, your spirit, the way you are conducting yourself in a moment, not the things you do that we can measure and count. I'm talking about the energy that you're showing up with matters more than the things that you actually do. The way that you're being determines the things that you do. The being comes first, the doing comes second, the having comes last. Energy first, action second, results third. Let me say that again. Energy, actions, results. EAR. Energy, actions, results. Who are you being as a person? And what I'm saying here in this first point is you got to take time every single day to intentionally and consciously decide who you are being as a person. If you are not doing this, here's what you're actually doing: is you're costing yourself opportunity, you're costing yourself success. Because if you go into an action just doing stuff without getting the being part right, without getting the energy part right, you're not going to get the right result. Any of you who works in sales, you understand the value of this. I remember the first job I got out of college. Actually, I didn't even actually have the job. I was interviewing for the job. Was this, it was a job where you sold phone service. And this was like landline phone service. Some of y'all don't even know what a landline phone is. This is like the phones before cell phones, where you actually had to have the phone connected to a wire to make a phone call. If you go to your grandma's house, you probably see a landline phone. So it was that kind of phone service, right? And every day, and these people were selling, this is outdoor sales, this is outbound sales, and this is like out in the field. So these guys would come to the office and they would meet in the morning. Then everybody would hop in their cars and they would drive to their territory and they would try to sell landline phone service to local businesses. That was the job. And I technically was about to get hired for this job, but I ended up not showing up, I ended up not showing up for the job because I'm like, this ain't the kind of job that I want. But here's the point. The reason why I'm even bringing this up, actually, before I even tell you that, and here's how crazy this was. This wasn't that long ago. This is like 2000, and I graduated college in 2004. So this is less than 20 years ago. The guy that I was shadowing, I remember this dude, his name is Matt. He had played like college hockey or lacrosse or something like that. So they connected. They made me shadow him because he was an athlete. They figured we had some rapport and something like that. You know what this dude used to do? We would get in his car and he had a map. I'm not talking about Google Maps. Okay. I'm talking about a literal map. And those of y'all who are old enough, you remember when you were in your car, or maybe your mom or your dad be in the car, and they pulled out an actual map. You know, the maps where you had to unfold it and it was like a big piece of paper. That's the kind of map that he had. he would look at the map and figure out where he needed to drive that day. And then we would drive there and we would hop out the car. He would walk into the business, talk to the owner a little bit. He's basically trying to butter them up and sell them on his landline phone service. This is what he would do all day. And we spent the whole day. He would just drive from business to business, and he's trying to, build his relationships and sell landline phone service. This is only this 2018 years ago. This guy, that's what he was doing for a living. But anyway, that's another story for another day. The reason I'm bringing that up is because before they would all leave the office, it was like 10 salespeople, and each one of them had their own territory. Before they left the office every single day, all the salespeople would gather in one office, and the manager or whoever, they would all gather around the circle, and they would all get themselves excited and hyped up. They would have this sales meeting to get themselves excited and hyped up to go out into the field, because they knew they're going to get their asses kicked out there trying to sell stuff to people who might not want to buy it. And as a salesperson, every day you're getting told no more than you're getting told yes. Most of us, when you're in sales, you get told no more than you get told yes. And he had to go out there every single day and do that. And all the other salespeople went out there and did it. And I'm bringing that up to tell you this, that the reason why they did that, even though it sounds kind of cheesy, but every sales company probably does this. If any of you ever done anything like network marketing, what's the reason they have all those meetings? They don't have the meetings because you're buying anything in the meeting. Everybody in there is already in the company. All right, there's nothing to sell at the meeting. The reason why you go to the meeting when you're in network marketing is to keep your energy up, keep your spirit up, keep you in a positive frame of mind, so that when you go out into the world and most of your friends and your family and your coworkers tell you, no, I'm not joining your company, I'm not going to support you by buying your product, I'm not interested in your business opportunity. The reason why you have the meeting is so that you can stay in a positive frame of mind, despite the fact that a bunch of people are going to turn you down and say no to your offer. That's the being part. That's why they have those meetings so often, and that's why the system is set up the way that it's set up. This is the being part. Being, doing, having, in that order. Here's the problem that most people have, and here's a mistake that most people have. It's not even a problem. Here's a mistake that most people make, is that they go right out into the world and they just start trying to do stuff. This is what most people do. They just go out in the world and they just start doing stuff and hope that it works out. If you go out into the world trying to do stuff without having your being in order, you will not get the outcome, even if the things that you're doing are the perfect plan. You can have a perfect plan, but without the being in place, you're not going to get the result that you want. And I want to let that point sink in. Has any of you ever, let me give you an example. Any of you ever had somebody tell you a plan to create an outcome? Like you had some outcome that you want to achieve and you're doing everything. Somebody told you everything to do. All right. All you got to do is this. They give you like the 5-step plan. Follow these 5 steps. You'll get your outcome. And you go out into the world and you start following those 5 steps. You're doing everything that it says. You're following the recipe perfectly by exactly as it says. What's going on, Kendra, over there on Facebook? You're following the plan exactly as you were told to follow the plan. However, despite the fact that you're following the plan, you're still not getting the result. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm doing everything that the plan said do. I'm following this recipe exactly as it says to the letter, but I'm still not getting the outcome. Has any of you ever had that happen? If you've ever had that happen, tell me yes in the comment section, that you have followed a plan exactly as you were told to follow it, yet it still was not working. If you ever had that happen, please tell me yes in the comments. And I know some of you had that happen. I know I'm a little bit ahead of y'all when it comes to the responses. So while y'all are responding to that, here, let me tell you what happens next. When you change your energy, who you are being as a person, and some of you have had this happen as well. You are following the plan, you're not getting the result that you want, but then your energy changes for some reason. Maybe you got a word of encouragement from someone who has already achieved the success, and they told you, hey, stick with it, and it's eventually going to work out, and that made you feel good. Or someone gave you a little tidbit about the way that you're doing things that might be just that little tweak that you needed that could help you get the result, and you feel a lot better about what you're doing. Or maybe you got really upset because things weren't working out, and because you got upset, and anger creates focus. When we get angry, we get focus. And because you got more focus, all of a sudden you approach the work a little bit differently. Or maybe because you were in an urgent situation, like, all right, I need to get this money today, not tomorrow, but today. And because of that, your focus went up and your sense of urgency went up. Then all of a sudden you did the exact same task that you were doing yesterday, but now you did it with a completely different energy. Your energy changed, and all of a sudden you started getting results. All of a sudden things started working. How many of you has ever had that happen? If you've had that happen, put a yes in the comment section. You were doing something yesterday, it wasn't working, but then you did the exact same thing today, just with a different approach, a different energy, a different mindset, and all of a sudden you start getting results. Has any of you, if any of you has ever had that happen, put that in the comment section. Yes, that you've had that happen before. Kendra, I see you over there that you've had it happen. I think Facebook's a little bit faster than IG when it comes to the lag time here. And I know a bunch of you over there on IG, you've had this happen as well. Here's the reason why this happens, folks, as y'all are responding. The reason why this happens is because when you change your energy and you change your approach, people respond to you differently. Why? Because you're on a different wavelength. This is what you got to understand about human beings. And a lot of people don't really understand it. Is that every one of us as human beings, we are literally we're literally vibrating on a certain wavelength at all times. Have you ever had somebody say, me and this other person are on the same wavelength? All right, that's a real thing. Wavelength is a real thing. All of us as human beings, we are literally vibrating. The earth itself, the planet, is vibrating at all times. But the thing is vibrating at such a high rate, is vibrating so fast that it doesn't feel like the world is vibrating. Like if you sit down in a chair and don't move, you feel like you're just sitting still. Nothing's happening. But the world is vibrating. The earth is vibrating so fast that it doesn't even feel like it's moving. And you are vibrating. As a human being, you are vibrating, and not just when you're moving around. If you lay down in the bed and don't move, you are still vibrating at you're vibrating at a certain frequency. So if you ever hear people say we're on the same frequency, or where we have a vibe, anybody ever say that? We got a vibe. I'm vibing with another person. You know what that means? That means you and that individual, or you and those individuals, are on the same mental wavelength. You're on the same mental frequency. And different energies have different frequencies. So when you feel excited and happy and positive, there's a certain frequency that comes with that. When you feel negative and sad and disappointed and angry and frustrated, there's a different frequency that comes with that. That's more of a low frequency. Excitement and energy and positivity is more of a high frequency. And when you and another person are vibrating on the same frequency, it's almost like you and that person, you ever just click with a person that you just met 5 minutes ago? And you're like, I feel like I've known this person my whole life, and you just met them 5 minutes ago. Any of you ever had that happen? Put a yes if you ever had that happen. You and another person y'all just clicked, and you never even knew this person before today. Y'all just met, but y'all just seem to be on the same page. Why is that? That's because you and that person, and on that particular day, in that particular moment, are vibrating at the exact same frequency. Your wavelength and their wavelength are matching, and you happen to come together at the exact same time in the exact same way. That's a frequency vibration. That is not a coincidence. It is not some random dumb luck. That's a real thing. All of us are vibrating on a certain level at all times, and our frequencies change, right? Because when you're asleep, you're kind of at a more calmer, lower frequency. But when you're wide awake, let's say, like this morning, I ran like 6 miles outside. When I'm outside running, and my energy is at a higher frequency because I'm moving my body. I had to be in that kinetic energy to be moving the way that I am. So I'm at a different frequency than when I'm doing this right now, than when I'm laying down about to go to sleep. It's a different energy. So when you're on that frequency and you come across other people who are on the same frequency, that's when the connection happens. You want to connect with another person, you got to get on the same level that they are, the same frequency. So any of you who's ever studied sales, especially when you sell things like online, or you sell, like you're trying to reach out to new people to sell to, one of the things that you get taught, any of you who's ever studied marketing or selling, is that you got to get into the head of your customer. Like any of you ever read that or gone to a conference or something like that, you always get told that. You need to be thinking the way that your customer is thinking. You need to be thinking the way that your prospects are thinking. You need to know what their problems are, what their challenges are, what their desires are, what they really want, besides what they actually say they want, but what they really want. And when you get it, and when you find that right match between what you're saying and what they really want, and you're really getting into their heads, all of a sudden, you get more people coming to you. And they'll say stuff like, man, I feel like you're reading my mind. And any of you who's a good salesperson or a good marketer, hopefully you've had some customers come to you and say, hey, I feel like you're reading my mind. I feel like you know exactly what my needs are. I feel like you know exactly where I'm at and exactly what my problems are. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that you're some kind of genius. What it means is you got on the same wavelength, the same frequency as the person who you're trying to sell to. And this is the kind of frame of mind you need to get into anytime you're about to write some sales copy, you're about to make an advertisement, you're about to write an article, you're about to make a YouTube video. You want to be thinking the same way that your customer's thinking, so that you can speak what they're thinking. And when you can speak what your customer is thinking, guess what happens? They buy from you. But if you're saying things that are what you're thinking, but it's not what they're thinking, you can say all the right stuff. They're not going to buy. Why? Because you're not in the same frequency as them. You're not in the same frame of mind as what they're in. So this first point here, I'm still on the first point. Anytime you want to make a connection to anyone or anything, the most important thing you must do is get yourself in the same wavelength as the person, place, or thing that you want. Let me say that one more time, and I'm explaining what I mean. Anytime you want to connect with a person, place, or thing, you got to get yourself in the same frame of mind, the same wavelength, and the same mental frequency as that person, place, or thing. All right. So it's not just limited to human beings. So you want to connect with a certain person, you got to get yourself in their frame of mind. How do you do that? You got to study that person, figure out how they're thinking. And when you can feel how they feel, then you can get into their space. They call that empathy. If you want to create, let's say you're making a certain amount of money, but you want to make a whole lot more money. You're driving a certain kind of car, but you want to drive a 10 times nicer, more expensive car. You got to put yourself in the frame of mind of that car, of that house, of that place that you want to live, of that vacation that you want to go on, of that first class flight that you want to take. You got to put yourself in that frame of mind. In other words, you got to make yourself feel how you would feel if you already had that thing. That's called a wavelength. That's called an energy. And this is a real thing. Sometimes some of y'all probably heard people talk about this, and maybe you've dismissed it as just hocus pocus, or just saying that to get you hyped up. No, it's a real thing. The challenge is a lot of people don't know how to explain it. I know how to explain it. That's why I'm talking about it right now. You got to put yourself in that frame of mind. So if you're driving a Honda Accord, but you want to be driving a Bentley, you got to put yourself in the frame of mind of a person who drives a Bentley. You got to put yourself in the frame of mind of how you would feel if and when you had that Bentley, and you got to feel like that, and you got to keep yourself in that frame of mind, even though you're still driving a Honda Accord. This is the challenge. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to tell you where people fail at this. So I'm just using this as an example. This doesn't have to be about cars. All right. If you're not a car person, it doesn't matter. This could be about a house. It could be about a type of person you want to date. It could be the business that you want. It could be some accomplishment in your career. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm just using car as an example because all y'all understand this. If you're driving a Honda Accord right now, but you want to be driving a Bentley, you have to consistently, not just one time, consistently, meaning when I say consistent, by the way, I mean every day. All right. Any of you don't know me, don't know my work. When I say consistent, I mean every day. You got to put yourself in a frame of mind as if you already got the Bentley, and how you would carry yourself if you were driving a Bentley as opposed to the Honda Accord that you're actually driving. And you got to put yourself in that frame of mind every single day, regardless of what's actually happening in your life. If you do that and you're able to do it consistently and stay there, I guarantee you will eventually be driving a Bentley. Now, here's the challenge. Most of you, and I know this from my experience in life, most of you have been so deeply conditioned in life to think differently from what I just said, because what I just said is 100% fact. I just gave you the science behind it when I talked about wavelength and frequency. Most of you have been so conditioned to not think this way and to think the opposite of this, that you won't do what I just told you long enough for it to actually work. You might try it for a day or two. Like right now, I might have your attention. You're like saying, no, that sounds good. Let me try that out. You might try it for a week. You might try it for a couple days, but then something's going to happen. You're going to have a bill that's overdue. You're going to have some bad thing happen in your life. You're going to have somebody tell you something that, trying to be quote unquote realistic. And you're going to go right back to the way you've been thinking for the last 25 years. And boom, your opportunity just got blown again. And you go right back to where you were. This is what happens to most people. Most people are not able to maintain the energy, the vision in their mind for long enough to make that vision become a real thing. Understand, that's why the process is be, do, and have. It's a process, folks. Meaning, just because you got yourself into the state of being does not mean the stuff that you're going to do is going to happen in 5 minutes and you're going to have a result in 20 minutes. That's not the way it works. You have to stick to these things long enough to get the result. I just had a coaching call for my coaching program earlier today. And this is one of the things I was telling the people on the call, is that the more successful the individual, the longer their time perspective. And some of y'all don't know the concept of time perspective. I talked about it in episode 777 of my podcast. The more successful the individual, the further into the future they project the outcomes of their actions. And the less successful person, they only think about they think about a much shorter time frame of the result, the ramifications of their actions. In other words, the person who's more successful has a long time perspective, so they think delayed gratification. So I might think something like, look, I want to eat some potato chips and ice cream and drink some alcohol. I don't even drink, but this is why somebody might think that, but they say, you know what? If I do that, it might shorten my lifespan. It might hurt me because I'm trying to lose some weight right now, and I'm not going to be in great shape later on this year. So you know what? I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to drink a ginger ale and some water, and I'm going to eat some fruit, and I'm going to go work out, because they're thinking about the long term. Whereas the less successful person has a short time perspective. So what do they think about? They think about, how can I get some immediate gratification? What can I do right now that's going to make me feel good in 5 minutes? Whereas a more successful person is thinking, what can I do right now that's going to make me feel good in 5 years? So the question is, how long is your time perspective? Time perspective is not, long and short are relative, right? So you have to ask yourself, how far in the future do you really want to think? All right, any of you who has kids, you need to be thinking about when your kids are your age, not just about you. Any of you who doesn't have kids, you want to think about when you're 20 years from now, 10 years from now. What actions can you take today that's going to make you happy that you took them in 2 decades or a year from now, or whatever your perspective is going to be? You got to choose. But this be, do, have principle applies to all of this stuff. This is why you got to decide, what am I actually playing the game for right now? Am I playing the game for 5 minutes from now? Am I playing the game for 5 years from now, 5 months from now, 5 weeks from now, whatever it's going to be for you? These are decisions that you have to make all the time. Every single day you're making these decisions, by the way, in case you didn't know. Every minute, every moment you're making these decisions. How many of you today, when your alarm clock went off today, how many of you got up as soon as the alarm clock went off? How many of you hit the snooze button and laid in the bed for another 10 minutes? Oh, now we hitting close to home. Time perspective. How many of you, when the alarm clock goes off, you get up out of bed because the alarm clock said get up? How many of you hit the snooze button and say, let me get an extra 15 minutes? Now, let's just say there was a camera watching you, and your kids or the people in your community, or whoever is going to come after you, or was watching you on camera, and everything that you're doing, you're setting an example for what they should be doing. Are you setting an example that you want them to follow or not? If they follow what you did today, they follow your disciplines, they follow your time perspective, are they going to be doing better or worse than you? Are you setting them up for success, or are you setting them up for failure? If they just follow your example. Forget what you say. They just follow your example. They just follow what you do. Now, see, this is where you can start to get real with yourself. And by the way, if any of you ever work with me, this is the kind of conversations that we have. This is the kind of stuff that we talk about. Because we gotta talk about things as they actually are. Then we talk about how we can make them better. Then we talk about what's the process for getting there. So ask yourself that question. What kind of time perspective are you embodying? Not what you ideally want, but what are you embodying through your actions on a day-to-day basis right now in your life? I want you to think about that one. So this first point, I need to move on to the second point, because I can talk about this all day. But every day, what you need to be doing, here's the point. You need to be taking time out and actually putting yourself in the frame of mind of what you want in your future. You need to be doing this intentionally and consciously every single day. And by the way, you see that book right there? That's the Mental Workbook. In this book, I lay out the entire framework for how to do this. You can get that book by going to workonmygame.com/workbook right there. That book right there called the Mental Workbook. I wrote that book specifically for you to know how to do this. So everything I'm telling you here, I wrote a book about it. There's that book right there. And when you go and get your free copy of this book called The Third Day, on the third page of that funnel, I'm going to offer you a 4-book bundle, which is that book right there. 1, 30 Days of Discipline, Work on Your Game, which is right here. And the other one is, I always forget the 4th book in that bundle. 30 Days of Discipline, Mental Workbook, Bulletproof Mindset, and Work on Your Game. You get all 4 of those books together, because who reads one book anyway? So don't just go get one book. Get this book, and then just say yes when I offer you the other books, and I'll give you like a year's worth of reading material just in this funnel. That's at thirddaybook.com. So that's number one thing you need to do to work on your mental game, is you must put this on your calendar. Everybody hear what I just said? If you want to be better at your mental game, it needs to be on your calendar. I heard somebody say, if you want to know what your life is, look at your calendar. I heard this guy say once, I was in this guy's coaching program, and he said he had a coach, and he was talking to his coach, and his coach said to him, "What's the most important thing in your life?" And he said, "Well, the most important thing in my life is my family and my wife and my kids. That's the most important thing in my life." And the coach said to him, "Okay, then I want you to pull up your calendar, and I want you to pull out your checkbook, and let's look and see if that's true." And the guy was like, "Damn," I felt embarrassed as soon as the coach said that to me, because I knew that if I looked at my calendar and my checkbook, it would not reflect what I just said. So if you're serious about getting your mental game in place, here's the question to you. Where on your calendar do you have time to actually get your mental game where it needs to be? Or are you just thinking it's just going to happen randomly just because you thought about it? That's another good question. That's another uncomfortable question that some of you need to deal with. Is it on your calendar? If it's not on your calendar, it ain't happening. Let's move on to point number 2, because like I said, I could talk about this all day. We're talking about how to work on your mental game. And I kind of just talked about this one. It's envision yourself doing the job that you are prepping for. So in sports, for example, when I tell athletes, you got to envision yourself doing the thing that you're about to do. So when you're getting ready for the games, I have athletes sometimes reach out to me and say, "Dre, how can I work on my game, my mindset game for basketball, for example, or boxing or tennis or horse racing? How can I work on my game for that even when I'm not actually doing the thing?" So I'm not on a horse, but how can I work on my horse riding game? I'm not on the court. How can I work on my basketball game? I'm not on the field. How can I work on my football game? Well, here's what you do. You need to take time envisioning yourself doing the thing in a positive way, actually achieving the outcome that you want to achieve. So, oh, Facebook was tripping. Yeah, Facebook is telling me that the stream is kind of weak. I don't know why. Anyway, there was a study that was done years back, and I believe the sport was basketball. I think it was basketball. So here's what they did. They took a basketball team, group of basketball players, right? And none of them was allowed to, actually, half of them were allowed to like practice basketball for, it was like a week. So for 1 week, half of the players on the team practiced shooting free throws all the time, every day. The other half of the team was not allowed in the gym. They weren't allowed to touch a basketball. They couldn't practice shooting free throws at all. But that half who was not allowed to practice basketball, what they did was every day they took the same time that they would have spent in the gym, and they took that time visualizing and envisioning themselves making free throws and making their shots and just being successful in doing the thing they were doing. So after that week, they brought all the players back together and they tested them out against what they had been doing before to see who improved the most over that week. And the outcome was the players who spent time visualizing themselves succeeding rather than actually practicing it, but actually visualizing themselves being successful, they improved more than the players who spent time actually practicing shooting free throws. Now, why is this? Because of the be, do, have principle. Again, it works in a certain order. A lot of people just do it out of order. I mean, most of you have positive intentions, but you do things out of order. And then even when you do them in the proper order, you don't know how to do them. So then you do it in a messed up way. So you think you did the thing, but you didn't actually do the thing. Then you're not getting the outcome. Then you think something's wrong with the process. No, nothing's wrong with the process. Something's wrong with your application of the process. See, everybody got what I'm saying here? Everybody catching what I'm throwing out? So the envisioning of what you're doing has to be done in a certain way, has to be done in a certain organized way. This is why I tell everybody, whatever you're serious about, any area of your life where you're serious about achievement, you need to have a coach. You need to have a trainer. You need to have somebody who can see things that you can't see, who can give you insights that you would not have come up with by yourself. This is the value of coaching. This is the value of training. This is the value of having experts in your corner. And think about it. Now, everybody here is familiar with professional sports. Even if you're not a fan or a player, you're familiar with it. Why does every professional athlete have a trainer or a coach? Why does every high-level singer, why does Taylor Swift and Beyonce and who else is a singer? Madonna and Bruno Mars, why do all singers have voice coaches? Why is this? Why do all singers have voice coaches? Like well-known singers, they all got voice coaches. All professional athletes, basketball players, boxers, golfers, soccer players, why do they all have trainers? And they're all the top performers in the world at what they do. But you are going to do everything by yourself by watching YouTube? You tell me how that makes sense. Yeah, I want to let that one sink in. We're gonna sit on that question for a minute. So I get people who text me all the time in email and DMs, and they tell me what their challenge is. I say, and eventually once I figure out exactly what their challenge is, I ask them, all right, so what's your plan? What are you gonna do? What's your plan to actually do something about this challenge? And they say something like, well, I gotta work on myself, Dre. I'm gonna keep getting your texts, and I'm gonna listen to your podcast, and I'm gonna watch your YouTube videos. And I say to them, well, listen, let's be honest here. If all it took for you to be successful was to listen to my podcast and watch YouTube videos, well, I've been making YouTube videos since 2005, and my podcast got 2,000 episodes. So if that's all it took for you to be successful, then why are we even having this conversation? I mean, if that's all it took, I mean, we shouldn't even be talking right now, right? Let's be honest here. And this is where I got to hold many of you. You got to get your feet held to the fire here, because again, LeBron James got a coach and a trainer. Beyonce got a trainer and a coach. Taylor Swift got a trainer and a coach. Who else is it? Candace Parker in WNBA? She got a trainer and a coach. All the high level performers you can name, every single one of them has a trainer, coach, manager, people around them whose very job is to keep them on point and point out when they're slipping and let them know, look, that is it. You got a little bit of slippage over there. Let's fix this. Floyd Mayweather had trainers, coaches. Y'all see boxing matches, right? You see when the boxers come into the ring, you see all those people they got with them. All right, who are those people? Those people's job is to keep that boxer on point so the boxer can focus on their main thing, which is throwing their hands. But their job is to keep them on point and notice when they're slipping and point it out. And understand that the person who's keeping you on point doesn't necessarily have to be better than you at the thing. All right, is LeBron James' trainer better than him at basketball? No. Is Beyonce's voice coach better than Beyonce at singing? No. But their job is to give them insight and see what they can't see. That's their job. Is it any coincidence that the top 1% performers in the world all have those kind of people around them, but everybody else thinks they can do everything by themselves? Tell me how that makes sense. I want somebody to explain to me how that makes sense. You see, any of you ever heard the saying, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? Okay, I just explained to you why. The reason the top performers in the world and the gap between the top people in the world and everybody else, the reason why that gap keeps getting bigger is because the top performers are doing things that everybody else ain't doing. The top performers are doing things that keep them at the top, where everybody else is doing things that keep them at the bottom. All right, this is why it works. All right, y'all remember years ago when when was this? Probably about 10 years ago when they had that whole Occupy Wall Street thing. Remember that? And they were talking about the 1% and the 99%. You had all these people who, instead of going to work that day, they went to the park and they camped out in the park in New York and they were protesting the 1%. All right, let me ask you a question. All right, how much money did they make that day? Their whole complaint was that they ain't got as much money as the 1%. Well, look what you're doing. While the 1% is at work, what you doing? You at the park protesting the fact that they got more money than you. All right, do you understand why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, folks? All right, it ain't no coincidence. This ain't no coincidence. All right, stuff happens for a reason. And if you really look at it and you look at things objectively and you ask the right questions, then it becomes obvious. All right, it's all obvious if you just ask the right questions. The challenge that's going on in the world today is that it's being outlawed to ask the right questions. All right, people are telling you that you're wrong for asking the right questions. People are telling you that you're harming them, or you're using hurtful language, or using hate speech by just asking a simple question that would lead to an insight if people would actually answer the question. I just gave you a question that it ain't but one way to answer the question. The rich get richer because the rich are doing things that make them rich and keep them rich, and the poor get poorer because the poor are doing things that make them poor and keep them poor. So the question is not about them. The question is you. What are you doing? Are you following the habits of people who are going where you want to go, or are you following the habits of people who are going the other direction? And this is a simple question. This is a simple multiple choice question. All right, ain't no gray area to this. Question is, what are you doing? And you know the answer. You ain't got to tell me. Look, you don't have to answer to me. All right, you don't have to answer to me, but you do have to answer to yourself. I'm just giving you the framework to ask yourself the right questions. The challenge for many of you out here, and I point this out all the time on my show, and any of you who hasn't, if you're not tuned into the Work on Your Game Masterclass, look it up on Spotify. For some reason, like I said, Apple that hasn't sourced the last couple episodes for whatever, some kind of bug they got in their system. Just look us up on Spotify. We've never had this issue on Spotify. It's called Work on Your Game. Just look up Work on Your Game on Spotify and listen to my show every day. The biggest challenge that a lot of you have is not that. Let me tell you what's not your challenge. A lot of people think their challenge is that, or they think other people's challenge is that people don't want to be successful. Most of you want to be successful. If you listen to me talk, I've been talking for 45 minutes. You've been listening to all this. You want to be successful. All right. You could do a whole lot of other things on the internet besides listening to this. So I know you want to be successful, and you have the intention of being successful. You're willing to do things. If you know what those things are, you're willing to do them, and you're willing to do the work. If I told you there's going to be some work, you're willing to do the work. People think their challenge is something more, better, faster, stronger, harder. Let me let you all in on an insight. Okay. Doing more, better, faster, stronger, harder of what you're already doing is only going to get you more of what you're already getting. That is not your problem. Did everybody hear what I just said? I want to say this again because this right here is the breakthrough that changes everything. So I want to make sure everybody heard what I just said. Doing more, better, faster, stronger, harder of what you are already doing is not your challenge. You think that's your challenge. That's not your challenge. All that's going to do is get you more of what you already got. And what you already got is not what you're looking for. You're looking for something different. In order to make a quantum jump in your life, you need to make a change in quality, not quantity. And I talked about this in episodes 22, 27, and 22, 28 of my podcast. Quantitative change versus qualitative change. Those are two different types of changes. A quantitative change is, for example, if I'm working out 4 days a week, and I'm like, man, I want to lose more weight, and I'm not losing weight fast enough. I'm losing weight, but I'm not losing it fast enough. So I decide instead of working out 4 days a week, I'm gonna work out 6 days a week. That's a quantitative change. I'm just gonna do more of the same thing. That is not what you need. All right, everybody hear what I said? This is very important. You don't need to do more of the same thing. It's like somebody's posting on Instagram, and I've had people in my coaching program say stuff like this. I fix it very quickly. They'll say something like, well, Dre, I post on Instagram a few times a week, but I'm still not getting any traction. People are still not coming to my sales page to buy stuff. So you know what? I'm just posting Instagram more often. I'm going to just put more posts up on Instagram. That'll solve the problem. No, it won't. That will not solve the problem. That's how you got in the problem in the first place, is that you are getting the right answer to the wrong question. This is what we call a quantitative change. Let me do more of the thing that is already not working. Okay. This is called a quantitative change, doing more of something. More is not the answer to your problems, folks. What you need is a change in approach, a strategic change, a systematic change. It's called a change in quality, not quantity, but quality, doing something completely different. My podcast is called Work on Your Game. Who was asking that question? It's called Work on Your Game. Just go to Spotify, type in Work on Your Game, you'll find it. It's very easy to find. Just look up Work on Your Game, or just go to workonyourgamepodcast.com. There's another place you can find it. So what you need is a qualitative change, excuse me. Change in approach. Now, here's the kicker to all of this that I just said. A qualitative change in quality, usually is not going to come from your own thinking. Why? Because your thinking is what got you to the position that you're in right now. So therefore, your thinking is not going to get you out of it. The problem and the solution are usually not the same thing. Okay, so the problem is not the solution. I got an episode of my podcast about that as well. So in other words, if you find yourself in a hole that you dug yourself into because you just didn't know what you didn't know, you are unqualified to get yourself out of the hole. You need to get some help from outside of yourself to solve your problem. The person who got you into the problem is not the person who will get you out of the problem. And usually that person is you. Everybody follow what I'm saying right here? All right. These are the kind of conversations I have with people who work with me. The person who got you into the problem is not the person who will get you out of the problem. So if you're overweight and out of shape, okay, who got you overweight and out of shape? You. So who's going to get you out of that? Not you. That's why you hire a trainer. You get it? You're not making the kind of money you want to make in your business. Who got you into that point? You. Or who's going to get you out of it? Not you. All right, because you're the one who got you in the problem. So if you knew the solution, then you wouldn't be in the problem in the first place. This is why you utilize other people. Here's the thing, folks. There are 8 billion people on the planet. Why would you do everything by yourself? Why would you do everything by yourself when there are 8 billion people on the planet? Why would you limit yourself to just you and just using your brain when you could borrow the brains of 8 billion other people? What sense does that make? You notice how I keep asking the same question over and over again? What sense does it make to utilize just your brain when you could utilize 8 billion other people's brains? All right, this is why you use other people. You collaborate with other people. You do things with other people. This is why you go find yourself a coach. Go find yourself someone who has insights that you don't have. And here's the key thing about insights. Insights means somebody's going to ask you questions that you never thought about asking. That's what an insight is. By the way, I want you all to understand. An insight is not somebody giving you information that you didn't have yesterday. And again, this is another one of those inaccurate formulas that a lot of people get stuck with. An inaccurate formula is when people think they have the right process, but you actually have the wrong process. One of the most inaccurate formulas in the world is people thinking that the difference between where you are and where you want to be is you need to get more information, or you need to get somebody to give you more answers to your low quality questions. You see, because if you're asking the wrong question, it doesn't matter what answer you get, because you're asking the wrong question. You're not going to get where you want to go by asking the wrong question. Insight is not about questions. Insight is not about answers. Insight is about questions. Insight means somebody's going to ask you a question and you say, and this is what happens with people who work with me. I guarantee you this happens. I'm not just saying this. When people work with me, one of the things I'm looking for them to say to me within our first conversation is, damn, Dre, I never thought to ask that question before. If you work with me, I guarantee you're going to say that to me. I never thought about asking that question before. That's interesting. I never thought about that question. That's what an insight is. When you hire the right trainer or the right coach, you get the right person around you, they're going to pose a question to you that you're like, damn, I never thought about that. That's interesting. And you won't even have an answer because it's a question that you never even thought about. You're 30 years old, never thought about that question. You're 55, you never thought about that question. Damn, I got to think about that one. That's interesting. That's an insight. A good coach or a trainer will give you insights, not answers, insights. Understand the difference between an answer and an insight. Answer, you can get answers on Google, everybody. All right, all you want is answers, go on Google. All right, you don't need to hire anybody for that. Google will give you all the answers you want. All right, YouTube, Instagram, what's the other ones? TikTok, Twitter. You want answers, just go on Google or whatever, and you get all the answers you want. Go to that link right there, workonyourgame.net. That's how you can watch the free training. I'm giving you a free training first. And if that training sounds like I'm talking your language, then you can schedule a call with me. But watch the training first. A good coach or a trainer is going to give you insights. They're going to make you think about something like, you know what? That I never thought about. I never considered that angle. That's what a good coach does. They don't give you the answers. They give you the questions. Episode 1177 of my podcast, I talk about insight. So I want y'all to understand, none of this is new. It might be new to you. It ain't new. I've been talking about this stuff for years. And today's episode was I just told you that was episode 1177. Today's episode of my show is episode 2308. So we talking about 1,000 days ago. All right. I've been doing this. I'm not telling you that to impress you, but to impress upon you. I ain't new to this. So I've been giving people this kind of game for a while, and I want you all to step your games up and take your games to the next level. So that's why I put this stuff out here so that y'all understand that there's a way to take yourself to the next level, but you got to have the right formula. Many people are operating by inaccurate formulas that they think, oh, I just need to work harder. That is an inaccurate formula. That is not the problem, that you need to work harder. I need to come to work earlier or go to bed later. That is not your problem. I need to get more focused. That is not your problem. I need to be more disciplined. That is not your problem. None of those is the problem. Now, could these things be true? Yes. But is any of these going to solve the bigger issue problems that you have? No, they are not. Yes. Do I work hard? Yes. Am I focused? Yes. Am I disciplined? Yes. Do I try to show up early and stay late sometimes? Yes. But is any of these really going to change the trajectory of my life and business? No. Because if that's all it took, then everybody will be successful. I mean, all you need is a couple hype up YouTube videos. So you don't need this. What I've been talking about for the last hour, you don't need any of this to work harder, get more discipline, show up earlier, get more focused, work on yourself and all the BS cliches that people like to throw out there. You don't need anything I've said over the last hour if that's all you needed to be successful. I mean, let's be honest. Do you? I mean, you can turn on some hype up rap music and get yourself excited. You can work harder just off some hype up. Listen to the new Future album. You'll get hyped up. You'll get excited. You can work harder off that. Now, what you need me for? But you don't need me for that. You need a different formula, a different approach. That's what insight is about, folks. I didn't even get to point number 3. And any of you ever seen the TV show Shark Tank? Any of you ever seen Shark Tank? You know what Shark Tank is? The show where entrepreneurs go on there and they try to basically get an investment for their business or sometimes even sell their business. You know what's the number one thing that the people who go on Shark Tank need to be successful? They need to be ready for every question that's coming. Because it's the same questions that you get asked all the time. Do you know your numbers? Do you know the numbers of your business? How much does it cost you to acquire a customer? How much does it cost for you to make one of your products? You make a sale, how much does it cost for you to actually deliver the product? What's your biggest supply chain issue? What's the lifetime value of one of your customers? All of those things. Those are the things the sharks want to know. They ask the same questions. Do you know what's going on? Do you have insights into your business? And this is how you prepare yourself ahead of time. This is how you work on your mental game. Let's get to the third point, because I'm already damn near at an hour. Third point, we're talking about how to work on your mental game. You got to set routines for your life so that you are focused ahead of time and you are focused as a discipline, not as a when you need it and you call on it because you need it. This is another big challenge when it comes to the mental game. So one of the biggest challenges with the mental game, folks, is that people only think about the mental game when they get into a crisis. You get into a situation where you have some challenge going on in life, or you got some urgent situation where your back is to the wall, or things aren't working the way that you want them to work out. What's going on, Philip, over there on Facebook? Things aren't going the way that you want them to go. And then all of a sudden you say, oh, you know what, man, I gotta get confident. I gotta get disciplined. I gotta get mentally tough. And then you go pull up YouTube, or you go pull up an episode of my podcast, or you're scrolling through Instagram looking for something to get you inspired. That's an inaccurate formula, folks. That's not the way that it works. If you want to be mentally on point as a normal way of being, and you want this to be part of your normal operating system, then you need to be doing it all the time. It needs to be part of a routine, meaning it needs to be on your calendar. It needs to be something that you can see every single day. When you go to your calendar, you can see it. Let me show you my calendar. This is my calendar for the month of September. You see that? You can't see exactly what everything is. The reason I'm showing you this is so that y'all all understand. All right, the stuff that I'm serious about, the stuff that matters the most to me, is on the calendar. I don't just think about it randomly. Like, oh yeah, you know what? I need to get myself excited. I need to get hyped up. I need to get activated. I need to get focused. I need to go live on Facebook. I need to go live on IG. I need to do a call for my coaching program. I need to record episodes from my podcast. All that stuff's on the calendar. Because if you're serious about it, then it's on the calendar. Just like I told you. I was in a coaching program and the dude said he had a coach, and the coach said, all right, you're serious about your family and your kids? Those are the most important thing in your life? Let me see your calendar. Show me. Show me your kids and your family on your calendar. And he knew it wasn't on his calendar, so he was embarrassed because he knew he was lying. He's bullshit. It's the same thing with a lot of y'all. Y'all say your most important thing is this, this, and this. Okay, show it to me on your calendar. Let me take a sip of water while you think about that one. Most important thing for you is you want to make more money? Okay, show me on your calendar where you have it scheduled that you're doing things or investing in something that's going to help you make more money. Show me on your calendar where, and listen, some people say, well, I don't have you don't have a resource right now. You don't have money right now to invest in something. Okay, fine. Can you buy a book? Books cost, how much a book costs on Amazon? $10, $20? Okay, show me on your calendar where you have an hour or two blocked off in your day to sit down and read a book about making more money. You don't have money right now to invest in something like coaching or to go to a conference or something like that. All right, cool. Now, I've been there. Show me where you got it on your calendar to sit down and read a book for an hour a day. I mean, since you can't invest in going to an event that costs $1,000, you can't afford coaching that costs a couple thousand. Show me where you got time to read that book that you spent $20 on. Is it on your calendar? Oh, you want to lose 50 pounds? Okay, show me on your calendar where you're going to the gym. Oh, you want to be more disciplined. Show me on your calendar where you are taking time out to actually put yourself in the frame of mind to be more disciplined. That's the app. I use this app that I just showed you. This is the calendar app on the phone. This right here is called Google Calendar. Everybody know the calendar app? It comes on the phone. I didn't even have to, this just comes on, this is Google Calendar. So I had to download this one, but you can use the Apple Calendar. This is my calendar right here. If I say it's serious, if I say I'm serious about something, it's on my calendar. If it's not on your calendar, you're not serious. You're just talking. Somebody joins one of my coaching programs because they invested in it. Guess what? As soon as that call starts, call say 8:30. Guess what happens at 8:30? I see the little notifications. There are 3 people in the waiting room. There's 1 person in the waiting room. Why? Because they invested. They're serious about it. When you're serious about something, it's on the calendar. It's not random. It doesn't happen when you get around to it. Many of you talking about you serious about something, but you're doing it when you get around to it. So what are we really doing here? What are we really doing? That's my question to you. You don't have to answer to me. Again, you don't have to answer to me, but you do have to answer to yourself. This is what I want to put in all of you all's mind. So if anybody got questions, go ahead and put it in the comment section. I'm going to answer a couple questions, then we'll wrap this up because we're almost at exactly an hour. So I'm going to take a couple questions. I saw some questions while I was talking. I will address those and then we'll wrap this up. I'm going to be doing these lives twice a week at least, on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. So Thursday is at 10:30. The Tuesday is at 8:30. So if y'all want to put that on your calendar, Tuesday at 8:30, Thursday at 10:30. Did I say that right? Eastern time, by the way. Tuesday 8:30, Thursday 10:30. So if you got questions, put it in the chat right now. I'm going to answer a couple questions, then we'll wrap this up. I saw some questions while I was talking. And that link down there, workonyourgame.net. Any of you want to work with me directly, go there first. It's a free training first. Watch the free training. When the training is like 28 minutes, about halfway through the training, I'll tell you how you can schedule a call with me. If you want to get on a call with me, you don't have to. You can still take the free training. If you want to get on a call with me, if what I'm talking about sounds like it's you, then you can schedule a call with me right there. That's at workonyourgame.net, not .com, .net. I own workonyourgame.com too, by the way. Arvin, what's going on? How are you? Let's see. Yes, the live is going to be, you can just go to my live video button. You'll see that. Get this book right here called Work on Your Game. Get it at workonyourgamebook.com or just go to thirdaybook.com as part of the Mental Game Super Duper Bundle. You can get that book and read it in the book. Let's see. I'm just answering questions right now, by the way. Everybody wants to see. Fake money. Oh, you got the 2-minute. Yeah, I remember I was talking about that the other day. That was episode 1031 of my podcast. Because I mention these episodes so often, I know the numbers. Question is, feel that feeling that at first, like the 48-hour challenge, exactly. Like I put in the reel. Pacific Diva, what's going on? Mind yourself daily by, well, not even phone notifications because those come and go. You need a process for this. That's why I wrote the Mental Workbook, that book right there. You need a harder process than just a phone notification because a notification pops up, then it goes away. You didn't get up this morning. All right, when your alarm clock goes off, you got to get up. Let's see. Question is, after one of your episodes, I deal with myself, ball grind, don't expect anything significant before the 5 years. So as long as you can stick to your process, whatever it's going to be. Yeah, Facebook looks like the stream is healthy now. I guess it's working healthy now, but it might be just because I'm live streaming on 2 platforms at the same time. So it might just be taking up a lot of bandwidth. Hitting the nail on the head. Needed this today. Message is confirmation from me today. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. Relentless Wealth. Is that Kendra? I appreciate you, Kendra. With you. This is life-changing information. That's what's up. I'm glad to hear it. I use that as a testimonial. Outside perspective is important. Non-BS opinion, not based on emotion and rationalization. Right. Outside perspective from the right person. All right. Not just from anybody. You got to get it from the right person. You got to get that perspective from somebody who can see what you can't see. So not like your next door neighbor, not your girlfriend or boyfriend, like somebody who's actually knows what they're doing. Not saying your girlfriend or boyfriend don't know what they're doing, but no, that's not somebody who's doing it for real as a profession. Let's see. Accountability feels like an attack before you understand this. That's very true. Can't keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. Right. And you also, Kendra, can't do different things and expect the same results. That's the inverse of that. Right. If you keep changing up your process, your results are going to keep changing. And if you keep the process the same, you're going to get the same results. Now, you got to find the mix between the right process that gets you the results you want and sticking to it. That's the discipline. And it's a mental toughness because it's not easy to keep doing the same thing over and over again over an extended period of time. It sounds easy, but it's not easy. Get out of your comfort zone. Do what others want to be great. Yes. And the challenge again, the biggest challenge is people don't have the right formula. So people are operating by inaccurate formulas. And workonyourgamepodcast.com is where you can find my show. All the episodes are on that site too. Workonyourgamepodcast.com, by the way. And yes, my podcast, dreallday.com/podcast. You put /podcast, that's where you'll see all the episodes. How do you know something is working? It depends. It depends, Vadim. It depends on what kind of questions you're asking and what you're working on. This is why the framework matters and the insights matter. This is why you get a coach. This is why you get a coach or a trainer, to know if it's working. It's the same thing with, again, the highest level performers. LeBron James, after the game, I guarantee you he talks to his trainer and says, what'd you notice in the game tonight? And the trainer will tell him. The trainer will tell LeBron what he saw. LeBron ain't telling the trainer's telling LeBron. That's why you got to have some high-level professionals around you who can see what you can't see. And he could tell LeBron, look, LeBron's going to get 30 every night, even if he didn't have a trainer, because he's that good. But the trainer will help notice, like, yo, the way your left shoulder is dipping when you do this, we need to work on that. And we'll do that in the gym, our next training session. Those little things that the average person would not notice, but the trainer notices, your coach notices. Beyonce, she does a show. Her voice coach is like, yo, I noticed something when you sang that song, when you did Crazy in Love. I noticed something about the way you hit that note. We got to work on that. That's the value of having a trainer or a coach, so that your slippage, nobody notices that you're slipping. They notice and you fix it before the crowd notices. Question is, you're trying to lose weight, get in shape, but at what cost? How much time, effort, energy will it take? Well, that's why you get a coach, Vadim, what I just said. How can you work with me? I think I answered that one, D. Lewis. Workonyourgame.net. Nice, you're not new, but true to this. Facts. Do I train for basketball? I do not. But I do have a website where you can get training programs. That's hoophandbook.com. Hoophandbook.com for any basketball players, if you want to get better at basketball. App, I answered that one. I buy books. I talk to people who I value their information. Is that the same thing as you're talking about? Well, it depends on how you're talking to them. Are you talking to them like in a DM, or do you actually have professional help? Professional help means you invest in yourself. Let's be clear. It means you invest in yourself. Like, I just bought a ticket to a conference that I'm be going to. The ticket's $1,000. The hotel is going to be another $1,000. The travel is going to be another $1,000. So that's $3,000. And I'm not making any money at the event. I'm going there because I want to meet some people and get some insights that I would not come up with by myself. Sitting here by myself, I'm not going to come up with those insights. So I'm willing to put $3,000 down in addition to what I'm not going to be doing while I'm at the conference. So that conference is going to cost me $5,000. But I'm willing to do that because I'm going to make $5,000 back based on what I get from going to that event. The people that I meet, the connections that I make, all of that stuff. That's the mindset of a business person. That's why we call it investing. So our business people invest. Everybody else spends. The difference between spending and investing. Question is, let's put more other than bills on the calendar, folks. We owe this to ourselves. Yeah, I'm going to put my bills on the calendar. I didn't even think about that. The topic is how to work on your mental game. Number one, take time out to focus on the way you need to be in the moment. Be, do, have. And number two, you need to be consistently envisioning what you want to do. And number three, put routines in place for your mindset. 1, 2, 3. D. Lou asks, how can you get better at asking questions? That's a good question that you ask. It's insight, the skill of insight. Listen to episode 1177 of my show. All right, so I just gave y'all points 1, 2, 3 for the people asking. Could I recap the points? Said earlier how we may do the right things for a day or two. How do you continually do new things that will better you? Process. D-Lou, systems. In my Work on Your Game University, I have a program called the Work on Your Game System. That is exactly what I coach people on. It's literally called the Work on Your Game System. That's exactly what it is. You need systems. Systems allow you to do things continually and consistently, the same things the same way every time. It's episode 2013 of my podcast. Systems. That's how you do things over and over again without a big variance in output. That's called that's the definition of consistency. And the way to be consistent is you need systems. You can't be consistent just by thinking about it. Many people think they can be consistent by thinking about it and they fail, and then they don't get their outcome and they think, well, I just need to work harder. False. Inaccurate formula. Philip says, how do you track your progress when you don't have a personal coach? Write it down. Write down your progress. Same way, like when you work out every day, you can write down what you did in the gym, right? You can write down, I did 10 push-ups. I did 3 sets on the bench press. I did 20 minutes on the cardio machine. I mean, you can write it down. Same way you could track your spending. Like you could track your income, and you could track your the way you use your money, the money coming in, the money going out. You can write it down. Wade says, I love the book, The Super You. Yes, it's one of my favorite books. That's that yellow book right there in the top corner. A lot of people like that book. It's actually a short book, but people say it's been great. Great for them, even though it's one of my shorter books. Question is, 5K can turn to 50 and more of long-term thinking. Yes, long-term thinking along with process. This is important. So I'm correcting you here. It's not just thinking long-term. It's process. You must have a process, folks. If I could leave you with one word for everything I talked about here today, working on your mental game. We could be talking about business, basketball, sports, relationships, whatever. Process. You need a process. You need a system that you plug into. It is not just doing stuff and thinking about it. You have to have a system so that you do it over and over and over again. This is the last idea I'm going to leave all you with. Human beings are imperfect creatures. We understand that none of us is perfect, right? None of us is perfect. If all you're doing, if your whole quote unquote process is just remember to do stuff, you're going to fail because you are not good at human beings are not great at remembering. A businessman told me like 20 years ago, he said, Dre, I trust a short pencil to a long memory any day. Meaning the process, the system by which you operate is more important than you as a person. The system does the work, not you. Yes, you're going to do what the system tells you to do, but the system is the one that's holding you accountable. That's why you need to plug into a system. Many people are operating without a system. You're just trying to randomly do stuff like work hard and believe in yourself and be focused and get motivated. None of that stuff is going to change your life. I'm not saying it's not useful, but it's not going to change your situation. This is why the systems matter so much. All right, everybody got that? All right, now I just talked for 70 minutes straight. So we wrapping this one up. If you are not part of my Facebook group, it is called 6 Figures and Growing. I put the link already in my story. So look at my Instagram story. I put a link to my Facebook group in there. So go to my story. You can join my group. It's free for anybody who wants to join. That group is all about business, people who are serious about business. This live that I just did is on Facebook, so you can watch it there. It'll be on IG as well, but on Facebook you can probably control the speed. It's easier to watch it on Facebook than IG, in my opinion. So it'll be on Facebook. What else? If you want to work with me directly, where you go is to workonyourgame.net. Watch my free training first. At the end of the training, I will tell you how you can schedule a call with me. It is not for everybody, but if it is for you, you'll know after you watch that training that it's for you. Go to workonyourgame.net. That's where you can watch the training. And I do these lives, like I said, every Tuesday and Thursday. I might do them more often than that, but for now, guaranteed Tuesday, 8:30, Thursday, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time is when I do these lives. If you got value from this, send me a DM. Tell me the value that you got from it. Hit me in the text. My text line is 305-384-6894. And that's it. Let me stop talking. I need to go get some lunch. Everybody have a great day. Work on your game. Appreciate y'all.